everyone, and welcome to another edition of DealBox Daily. Today, we are here recording episode 33 of the show, and I am accompanied by our good friend, Mr. Carlos Gomez from Bello Baba. Say hello, Carlos.
Hey, John. How are you? Hi, everyone.
Yeah, we're having a great day. Thanks for asking. I hope the same is true for you as well. I know it's been an interesting couple of weeks here in markets, and so we're going to spend a lot of time getting to know you, an opportunity for you to share about yourself and your business with our wonderful audience. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about the business as well as some of the things that are going on in the market today. People are very curious, and our inboxes and our channels have been lighting up with all sorts of inquiries. So we're really fortunate to have you here on the show today, and thanks for making the time for us.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite.
So Carlos, why don't we go ahead and start by just maybe you could give a brief introduction about yourself and your background prior to the work that you do in blockchain and cryptocurrency so that our friends can get a better understanding of where you come from and what your background really is.
Okay, thank you. Sure, John. Before coming to the United States, I was living in Sydney, Australia. I was a performance manager of a sovereign fund of the state of New South Wales. It's like California and Australia. It's one of the few jurisdictions in the world with a AAA rating. So very proud of that. I was managing a portfolio of about 9 billion Aussies. So it could be pretty much 6 billion US dollars. My first background is in finance. I'm a CPA by trade, but then I decided to study law at Sydney Uni, and halfway, I just thought that, okay, let me try to do something different with my career. I didn't want to practice something traditional with the law. Not that I have something against family law or property, but I wanted to do something different. And one night in 2015, I Googled innovative areas of law to practice. And just to give you an idea how wrong Google was, thankfully, that night, Google bring me back the term smart contracts. So when I saw it, I said, okay, this is contract law in a smart way. So I started reading that night. So that was mind blowing. So that was the night I discovered Ethereum, smart contracts, and also discovered Bitcoin. I heard about it, reading Wire or some other magazines similar, but I never got into it. So that night I got hooked with the concept, and since then I've been in the industry. So came to the United States with a crypto project. That was back in 2018. And since then I haven't looked back. And we talk about my current work in Bello Baba, but I joined the project last year, so I have a year of history with the team, and very happy so far.
Wow, fantastic. You know, it's really interesting to hear somebody who, has a finance background and considers practicing law. As a matter of fact, when I was at university, I had a similar thought, and my plan was to get a 3-year program around a JD and an MBA jointly at the same time. And so I know that not very many people think to blend those two practices together. So you came at it at a wonderful time. And I love the story you share about Googling about, contract law and figuring out what to do. I wonder, do you happen to remember when you clicked on that smart contract link? Do you remember if it was a Google generated ad, or were you scrolling further down the page? I wonder how at that point in time, Google was returning those kinds of results.
I was certainly the first page for sure. If there was a paid ad or was simply a very popular blog talking about Ethereum, or I think it was a blog article about Ethereum. I remember there wasn't the Ethereum webpage wasn't the first that I clicked. So there was an article. I can't remember the blogger, but yeah. So it showed off back in 2015 in the first page. So I think it will be something really hard to do nowadays.
Very interesting. And so you said that in 2018 is when you came over to the States initially from Australia with this crypto project. Tell us a little bit about what you had initially wanted to pursue in cryptocurrency, and then we'll start to work our way into where you are now and what you're working on today.
Yeah, well, I came as a consultant, so to design like a blockchain solution for supply chain. How appropriate would be nowadays with all the issues we have with supply chain in the country. So I came here because one of the sponsors, one of the leaders of the project was a Miami resident. So I'm in Miami just by fluke, so to speak. So I could be now in Wyoming or California or any other part of the United States. So I just happened that person happened to be a Miami resident. The project was, he was a Miami resident, but the project was in Africa. So I have the pleasure and the great opportunity to visit more than 20 African countries. So we were talking with president, prime minister, commerce minister, and also explaining how blockchain could facilitate the trade and the traceability of the food, because the origin of the food was very important for the market. So between Western Africa and the port of Rotterdam, which is one of the entries in Europe for food or for fresh products into the continent, that was a real concern. So that was interesting. As a quick anecdote, 10 seconds, I was in Ghana one evening explaining about blockchain, and I was literally explaining the concept to tribal chief. So they were dressed in traditional costume, and there was one person that raised a hand and said, "I got a question about the contract you're talking," and that person was speaking in perfect and beautiful English accent. So the guy happened to be an Oxford lawyer, and dressed in a majestic traditional costume. So that was a very rich experience, and I'm very happy to have that. So.
Fantastic. Well, it's very apparent that you're a very well-traveled man, which is very exciting, especially given the nature of crypto being such a global business, right? We see so much of that application in so many countries. And oftentimes, I remember earlier back in the blockchain days where, a lot of US people were a little bit apprehensive about some of the use cases that were being discussed. And I think for the most part, there's a lack of understanding around how these other underdeveloped countries and economies actually have a need for these kinds of things and how they can help in localized environments, right? And the collective nature of all of those small microeconomies coming together into a similar industry using that similar technology winds up being such a massive market, right?
I think, John, that there is an old saying that says that necessity is the mother of all invention. And I think that applies quite rightly. For example, if back in 2016 or 2017, you stand in a corner of New York City or California, in California or in Sydney, and trying to explain to someone that they need cryptocurrency because the financial system doesn't work, that will be a very hard task, because when you're a resident of one of these fortunate nations, well, for this majority of the people, the financial system works. You can open a bank account, you can transfer money, you can have a savings account, you can have a credit card, normal life. That's not the same situation in pretty much 2/3 of the world. So when you explain the same concept in Latin America, in Africa, and some areas of Southeast Asia, the result and the response you get from people is completely different. People straight away engage with you and say, "I want to need more. I want to need more." So it just, I would say that that's a true saying, that necessity drive change, and that applies to this industry.
Yeah, it's a very applicable phrase, Carlos. I was recently introduced maybe a few months ago to a new piece of literature. The book is entitled 2030, How Today's Biggest Trends Will Collide and Reshape the Future of Everything. For our audience listening, if you have not had a chance to check out that book, I strongly encourage you to do so. The book is written by a brilliant scientist in the field of demographics. And he discusses these coming changes to demographics across the world and how places like Africa, India, Latin America, Japan, China, all of the major and less than major countries are going to change over time. And what's fascinating is that I do believe from an investment thesis standpoint that these underserved markets will become some of the most in-demand markets over the next 10 to 15 years. And so if you're an investor who's not in retirement today and looking at, say, a 10+ year investment horizon, these things are very, very important. I cannot stress enough how much demographics actually drive the future of financial returns from an investment standpoint. And so these things are very important to pay attention to. And we'll spend a little bit of time talking more about the international nature of your business. So Carlos, maybe you can tell us by way of introduction today, just maybe a quick 1 or 2 minutes about Bello Baba. What is it you guys are doing today? Maybe the inception story of the company and a little bit about the funds.
When I was living in Miami during the pandemic, as part of my involvement in industry, I was the ambassador of Polkadot, which, as people in the industry know, it's very prestigious and very innovative protocol designed by Gavin Wood. So I was the ambassador for the city of Miami. So I was engaging in webinars and conversations. So someone approached me from Spain. They have a channel. They have an academy. They have a professional postgraduate exclusively in blockchain in the Spanish language. So US Mas, which is the founder and chairman of the fund, and Natalia, they approached me to talk about Polkadot. So that was the day that I met him. And since then, we really connect because we share the values, we share a few ideas. So what I like about this project is that Luis started with the educational side of crypto. So he started educating people, as you mentioned, that's really important. Try to make people to understand and to see the benefits of it. So this is not something fancy. This is not some useful technology. So we can get value straight away from that. So he started with the educational arm, and then the community grew. And then they say, okay, let's put into practice something that we learn at postgraduate. So talking about things that the educational system lacks sometimes. You teach people, you show people how to do things, but the practical arm is not quite there yet. So he said, okay, we reach a point when we need to be more practical. So they start like a small investment club that I'm sure there are thousands around the world. They grew up, they get very popular. That was the year 2020. So the crypto world started to pick up with DeFi and other ideas. And then they said, okay, we reach a point that when we have to do something serious. And so do the right way. And the right way for them is that go fully regulated. So they are European, they are based in Estonia, and the rest of things in Spain. So I think that's the area of influence. So they start looking for friendly jurisdiction that understand crypto, understand hedge funds, and they found Gibraltar. Gibraltar, as people know, is that small territory enclave in Spain. It's a British territory with English common law. They have a very developed financial system, financial services industry with a lot of service provider, fund administrator, auditors, legal advisor, commercial advisors. So we engage with them. We engage with our consultants, with our lawyers, with the regulator, and we got regulated. So the fund is fully regulated as an experienced fund. Experienced fund for in US stock is the equivalent of accredited investor fund. So it's sort of similar. They have a little different definition, but same. So the fund developed, the idea developed, fully regulated, and also we put another layer of complexity because we said, okay, we have to do what we preach. We are dealing exclusively with digital securities, with cryptocurrencies. So why we don't do some interesting experiments and tokenize a fund? So we're one of the first hedge funds in the world that is regulated and also is tokenized. So we tokenize the fund in Europe. So we're using a specialized company in Luxembourg that now have to do the sort of things in that jurisdiction. And then we start growing, we start doing some PR, and then we start some ideas. But then we thought, okay, we're leaving out a big part of the world market, which is the United States. So we start thinking, okay, how we do it? We reach Dellbox, and I say, okay, let's start developing this idea of how we can make happen for the US investor to have exposure to our product and us to have exposure to this source of people willing to invest in that. So we developed this limited partnership in Delaware, and with that, we came up with this master feeder structure when a worldwide investor can go straight away into Gibraltar and US investor can get into the limited partnership in Delaware. So both funds are tokenized. So the Gibraltar fund is tokenized in Europe. The US feeder fund is tokenized here in the US with another specialized service provider, part of the ecosystem. We're very happy with that. So we're fully tokenized, master feeder fund, fully regulated by the Gibraltar Financial Services Commission. So that's in a nutshell what we do, and our mandate that I'm sure we'll talk about more in detail is fully the mandate's 100% in crypto assets and cryptocurrencies.
Fascinating. So for the audience listening, it's a lot of information, Carlos, and those more familiar with what we're talking about are probably following along going, wow, this is really amazing. But just to break that down for the audience really quickly and summarize, what Carlos is sharing with us, everyone, is that effectively they operate an international cryptocurrency hedge fund that has a digital security wrapper around it, this tokenized element that allows investors at a point in the future prior to, or once a direct listing of said token is actually trading on something like an alternative trading system, that opens up optionality for liquidity in a hedge fund vehicle, which is something that is not very common in the world today. In the world of hedge funds and venture funds, usually there are all sorts of gates and redemption periods and restrictions and all sorts of things that certain investors don't like, even though they might like the fact that the performance is good or the sectors, the mandates or the strategies, but they're not comfortable locking up their funds in some of the ways that these funds are structured, both in the hedge fund and venture capital space. And so for the audience, as people have heard about the benefits of actually, quote, tokenizing these kinds of things, Carlos and his team at Bello Baba have actually brought that to market and are doing those things in real time today. Dealbox has helped facilitate these things for him, as well as a number of other strategic consultants across the world. And so what we're talking about here is really a globally integrated cryptocurrency hedge fund that has exposure in a number of countries, a number of jurisdictions, has both the high type return profiles that we see in cryptocurrency, but some really amazing liquidity benefits, being that both of those funds are tokenized. Did I do okay wrapping that up and summarizing it, Carlos?
Perfect, John.
Fantastic.
I have said any better.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Yeah, no, my pleasure. So yeah, you mentioned the mandates a little bit, but before I get into that, I just got back to my desk today from a 4-day family office conference in San Diego. And at that conference, there were about 60 some odd managers there in the hedge fund space, venture space, you name it. And I had the chance to sit with about 20 of those 60-ish funds and managers. And I scanned the room as I was walking around everyone's tables just to get a sense of who in here knows something about blockchain or is doing something in blockchain. I want to say it was 62 or 63 tables, 2 blockchain or cryptocurrency related funds and managers in this room, 2 of 62. And represented in this room on the family office and investor side was roughly about $100 billion in capital, billion with a B. And so when you think about the fact that there's that much capital in a single room and 2 of 62 managers in there are talking about this space, even though we've watched these markets grow to tremendous dollar amounts, there is so much more room for capital to be deployed in these things, and for professionals like Carlos and his team at Bello Baba to be able to bring sophisticated offerings, sophisticated structures that intelligent investors actually understand and are comfortable with to the market is a rarity today. And furthermore, those products that do exist out there that are similar to Carlos's fund, for example, are very, very difficult to get access to. These minimums can range all the way from 10 to $100 million in commitments. And so what happens is, for the most part, you've got either, very wealthy family offices or people who have made significant wealth in cryptocurrency looking to diversify a little bit more with a trusted manager wind up becoming the limited partners in these things. But it's very difficult for, say, an accredited standard type investor with a net worth of, let's say, $1 to $10 million or 1 to 20, of which there are a lot of these people, to get exposure to these types of things. And so knowing all of this, Carlos, why don't we shift over into a little bit about the mandate of the fund, how they work, and what you guys are really trying to achieve, both from a performance and a risk management perspective. So if some of the audience listening is a little bit more curious about how the funds work, they can better understand how you guys think about the actual investment and trading inside the funds themselves.
It's a very lengthy piece of information, so I'm allowed to split it in different parts. So the first goal of us is just to provide investor with an asset type or an asset class that departs from the normal correlation of the traditional financial markets. This could be something counterintuitive because, as you said, more and more professional and institutional investors are joining the industry. And I recognize that the behavior of a specific financial asset, it's built upon in part by the mindset of the investor that are working on it. So I think if we bring traditional investor with a mindset and expertise in real estate, in shares and in bonds, their way to see the world it's built upon inflation, interest rate, macro cycle. So, but having said that, even though they are start getting into the crypto ecosystem, the crypto assets, we believe, and our evidence shows that during the last 10 years with Bitcoin and less with other, is that there is little correlation in terms of behavior, and we can expect even less in the future between the behavior of certain crypto assets and the traditional world. So what we're doing in simple terms is facilitating a risk management tool to first, get some institutional investor or one wealthy investor that want to diversify. When we tell to them is that, hey, let's talk about the 1-2% of your portfolio and put it into a specialized fund that is specialist in this type of crypto assets. So we are a group of purely specialists in the blockchain industry. So my group, that is the investment group, it's built upon analysts and traders that each of them have a very deep understanding and knowledge of each of the protocols that build the majority of the ecosystem. So when we talk about Solana, we talk about Polkadot, we talk about Ethereum, we talk about people that have been studying the industry, that know their own chain information. What you can expect from us is that get exposure, get the facility to diversify and apply a risk management tool into 1 or 2, 3% of your portfolio and get exposure to these highly volatile, but if we manage in a controlled way, as we do, you can get some benefit from that. So what we do, we try to have very high liquidity in the investors. So we, as our mandate says, we only invest in very liquid crypto asset. That helps us to turn back and tell the investors, hey, because we invest in very liquid investment, we can offer you liquidity if you want. Then if we put on top all the features and all the benefits that you talk about, the alternative trading system, that's an increase. But however, so we offer liquidity, we offer diversification, we offer an active managed portfolio. We're not the typical hedge fund or investment fund that start a year with an asset allocation, we do the trades, and then let's review in September to see how we're going. We continuously monitoring the market, we continuously monitoring the macroeconomic factors, and also more importantly, the analyst side of the fund, it's composed of the people that are continuously checking, one, the on-chain data. So that's a very new concept from the people that are not in the industry. On-chain information, the way I explain is that, let's imagine a traditional investment conference when you have wonderful breakout sessions in the morning and then you have the lunch. The lunch is composed of very brilliant economists that you're going to talk about the state of the union, but from the private sector point of view. We're going to talk about inflation, we're going to talk about trade, about the commerce. So on-chain information is equivalent in crypto of macroeconomic information. On-chain is that when you get into the detail, you get inside the life of a blockchain, and then you start getting information to check the health of the protocol and the health of the ecosystem. So then we have an artificial intelligence group that they are continuously monitoring the sentiment of the investment using scrapping data out of social media account, mostly Twitter, because as we know, Twitter is the crypto Twitter is one of the most favorite places for people engaged in crypto to express their opinion. And we're very vocal, we're very opinionated, and I think there is value in that. So we strike that, and we get our sentiment index that give a signal to the trading desk and say, hey, we believe, based on the artificial intelligence result analysis, that in the next 4 hours, these 4-hour windows, we're going to see a change in the trend of the behavior of this particular crypto asset. We're monitoring almost 200 coins in the market right now. And the traders obviously get that information, do the traditional technical analysis, view performance, and then engage in the trade. So if you see that we are 100% in crypto, we provide diversification, we're a specialist, we're very liquid, but also the way we do is we combine on-chain analysis, we combine technical analysis, and we combine artificial intelligence for our analysis. So let's try to wrapping up everything we do, but that's typical day in the life of Bello Baba fund manager.
Wow, it's fascinating, Carlos, and congratulations on all the hard work that the team puts together. You know, you mentioned the analysts, the quants, the AI, the risk management overlays, the diversification, the liquidity, proprietary sentiment indexes that give buy and sell signals to the trading team, and then the actual execution of those relationships, right? Or rather those trades, excuse me. And when you start to see and put all of these pieces together, it's very, very evident, and especially given your guys' background, right, that this is not something that you guys just decided to spin up in the last month, right? I think your first fund has been trading since January of 2020. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. In a European jurisdiction. Yeah, it's a small fund.
Terrific. So for the audience who's interested, if you guys would like, the Bello Baba fund is up in the DealBox platform. You can head over to the website and take a look at some of the information that pertains to Carlos's business and their family of funds, as well as some of the other past performance that is indicated by their other funds and things like that. So really it is Carlos's and team's goal to expand the success that they've had in these ex-US jurisdictions and bring that into the United States market, which again is fascinating to me. I come back to the conference I just came back from, and it's really amazing to see just how many people are interested in getting this type of exposure as a US investor to people that better understand the crypto and blockchain economies across the world, which is something that is very difficult to do, because either you need to have your own teams or businesses in place in foreign jurisdictions and be a US citizen to really understand this entire market. And so Carlos and the team at Bello Baba have basically crafted what is an exceptionally operating international business and giving and providing US-based investors the opportunity to join them in the future success that is further supported by the success that they've had internationally. And so we're very much looking forward to seeing you guys in the audience here take a look at some of the materials that are available on the platform. Carlos, if our audience has any questions, what is the best way to get in touch with your team? Is it via Twitter? Should they reach out to you on LinkedIn? How can our friends and family come and speak with you?
I'm fortunate enough to have grown an audience in LinkedIn. So I think LinkedIn is the place where I live, and I'm more efficient in terms of responding to any queries. So please, anyone in the audience, feel free to reach out, and yeah, that's the best way to get in contact with me directly. Twitter, obviously, the contacts are in the DealBox side for the offering, so you will get my direct email there. So any method that you wish, but LinkedIn, without doubt, one of the most efficient.
Wonderful. Well, Carlos, we know it's late in your time zone, so we do appreciate you making some time with us and working across global time zones here. But thank you for joining us, and everybody in the audience, thank you again for listening. We're happy to be on episode 33 here of DealBox Daily, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. I enjoy a lot this conversation.
Me as well. Thank you, Carlos.